Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
And welcome back, everybody. It is a fact of life. We are all going to, at one point, pass on. And it can be challenging when somebody in your life, a loved one, passes away. The impact on the family is huge, but especially for children. How do you deal with death and children? Explaining it to them, walking them through the process, the journey, all of that. We're gonna talk about that today. This is things you don't hear them anywhere. You think about them, and then she walks in the room, and this is Deceased and Assist. She is the owner of two wonderful funeral homes in New Jersey, Oliverie Funeral Homes, and Geraldine Oliverie joins us on the program today. How you doing?
Good. How are you? Glad to be here.
Yeah, it's good to have you here. And this is one of those topics that you don't think about it until you need to think about it when somebody passes away, and how to explain it to children. You know, how transparent you should be. Should you protect them? There's a lot going on. Where do we start with this?
Yeah. So funerals are different today than from years ago when, our life expectancy was younger, because then children just were always at funerals, right? Your whole family was there. That was your babysitters. And if you went to the funeral. Today, it's different. Our life expectancy is so longer. Children may not experience a funeral for the first time until they're young adults. Grandparents are living till their 90s. They can have grandchildren and great-grandchildren, in their 20s and 30s. So we have to remember that if we're going to talk about the young children, not young adults today, and that children still have needs and feelings as adults, right? They process it different, but depending on the age of the child, their questions and answers that you're going to give are really important, because they may have different feelings or fears. So it's important to listen to them first. Don't assume you know what the question is, because you may over answer. And so you want to look at them when you're speaking, because they want to know you're acknowledging that question. And then they also want to know that you're emotionally there for them, not just physically chatting and not listening to them emotionally. So you have to sometimes just give them a hug to let them know you're emotionally there with them. And then we start the process from there. So some things will change by age, but some things are for every child. And some things are when. In today's social media world, children have cell phones. And even if they're 5 and they don't have Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever, they're still talking to their friends, their cousins, their family. They have other phone numbers. And somebody older may call and say, hey, did you know what? Grandma died last night. Did they tell you? So it's really important when, because if you don't take care of the when as soon as possible, someone else's perception of death or how it should be handled will be given to your child. And maybe that's not the perception you want, right? So that's the worst case scenario, is when and who's going to tell them. So it's got to be you, and it's got to be fast, right?
You are bringing, first of all, and I don't mean to digress here at all, but everything you're saying pertains to speaking with children about anything, anything.
Yeah.
Don't over answer. Speak to them on an emotional level, so you're connecting with them, not that you're just spewing information out. And how you're going to tell the children. You just took me back to 14 years old. I have chills. My grandmother passed away. This is my mother's mom. Knew she was in the hospital, but I didn't know she passed away. It was a Sunday morning. I will never forget it. About 10:30 a.m. and in walks Uncle Bill. And he just, door opens up and he's looking for my mom. He's like, yeah, you're looking for her. And he says, no, yeah, grandma passed. Oh, you guys didn't know?
Exactly.
I will never forget
it. And he's not connecting with you because he's still looking for your mother.
Yeah, he was just doing his thing.
Gotta go. Keep moving. Go to your room. You're in my way.
I was standing at the top of the. I see him, and you're right. He just walked through the door. I was standing at the top of the stairs. I remember everything,
And
everything.
a rush of feelings.
There's a song I even associate with her passing, Baker Street by Jerry Rafferty, because it came out at the time that she passed,
And
and
blank.
Rafferty was her name. So
Ah, there you
it's
go.
it's crazy. I think you got to be intentional and plan it out. You
Yeah.
got to plan
So
it out.
that's where the where comes in, right? Because depending on the situation, it should be in a familiar setting. So, I mean, you don't want to drag them somewhere to your aunt's house or somewhere else, and then you're like, oh, we got to tell you something. Because now they're already like,
The radar's up.
on. It's better to do it, plan it at home as soon as possible, familiar setting. I mean, sometimes you can't. It could be a sudden death, which we understand. Then you have to do it maybe a little different. But you know, when it's a family member, you want to be able to control all the aspects as quickly as possible. And where is a comfort zone for a child? Maybe it's their bedroom, maybe it's their playroom, maybe it's the playground outside your house, you know, where you do a lot of discussions. Because for children, a playground is a safe place for them because it's fun. So
Mm.
now, even though I'm going to tell you something, we're going to talk, you know, heart to heart, you're relaxed a little, right? And then who should tell the child that this death has occurred? Again, if it's an ailing grandparent, it should be done before death if it's a hospice situation. Don't wait for the death. Let them, over the course of weeks or whatever, during the hospice routine, think of questions and keep coming to you so that they have all the answers by the time of death, right? And this way we can focus on the child's emotional development and support at the same time, not we got things to do. We have to go to the funeral director. We have to make choices. We can't help you right now. You know, get out of my way. We don't want to do that. So if we can do that early, that would help. That situation isn't always given to us. We understand that. But if it is, use it to your benefit. And if you're not comfortable, maybe you have a close relative that you really want to do it. Maybe clergy if you're religious. Maybe a therapist or a teacher, because they have counselors at school now that can deal with death and everything because of all the stuff that's gone on through the years. So maybe it's one of them. Or maybe some people, unfortunately, have social workers in their life. So maybe it's the social worker or a close friend of yours. But over the next few days, you want these questions to come up ahead of time, right? And you want to be honest and answer the questions. Again, answer the question. Don't give too much detail. Let them think about what they want to know. Because how you answer a 14-year-old is not the same how you answer a 5-year-old who just wants to know a simple little answer like, Grandma died. Yes. Do you have a question? No. But they
Mm.
will later. They'll be like, oh, yes, we're going to explain the whole death situation to you. No, they're not listening. Wait for them to be prepared to ask more questions and know more, right? So how should you explain it? So I have a couple of things. First, you do have to be at the physical and emotional level of the child. Like you can't be above them like you're an authoritative. So if that means sitting next to them and facing them, playing on the ground with whatever, you know, in their room or outside, whatever they're playing with. Sometimes it's a ball, sometimes it's just, they all have those little toys, you know.
Hmm.
Little finger toys they're playing with. You want to engage with them and do that. So it's simple. Simple is always better. And then don't speak as fast as me. You want to speak slowly so they understand the words that are coming out and it's not a rush of information, right? Pause. Let them acknowledge they heard it. Do you have a question so far in between information? Because they're not going to remember the question if you roll the information over them, all of it all at once, right? So every child, of course, is going to react differently based on things like age, developmental level, the relationship to the deceased. Maybe they never saw grandma and they don't care. They're like, okay. I never saw her. She's here, she's gone. What? Okay. So they may not have any more questions, right? But someone who sees their grandparent all the time, they live in the same house, or they go every weekend or every holiday, they're going to have different feelings about that death, right? So you have to struggle to understand them as much as they have to understand you. Does that kind
This
of
is crystal clear. And lots of things come up for me. Emotion. Now, you may get emotional while telling them. You don't want to. You want to, hold it together so you don't set them off. How do you deal with the emotion when that comes up?
So don't be afraid to show the emotion, because then they're afraid to show the emotion. It's good to cry together and say, Mommy's sad because it's her mommy. I'm very sad, even though she had a great life. And if you're religious, you can mention God. If you're not religious, don't mention God. And even though she had a great life, it was her time. Whatever those next sentences is depends on your belief in death. But I'm very sad. And most children will want to hug you and even cry with you. And that's okay. You say, it's okay to cry. We're all going to be sad for just a little bit, but this too shall pass. Right? Now, if they've ever had a pet or seasons or something, I'll get into more later, then you had opportunity to teach them about death. So maybe they know a little, maybe they don't. But either way, it's okay to share those emotions as to why you're sad. And then they understand it's okay. I'm allowed to be sad. Even for boys who they love to say, don't cry, be a man, be tough. No, maybe that's not the right answer to hold it all in, right? Depending on the age, letting it out and understanding it is much better, because the tears of grief have been proven to help get through the grief. They're healing tears, right?
It's so true. And tears in general, you're releasing a chemical. That's why we have them. Why do you think you cry?
We have them.
It's a reason. Yeah.
So it helps. It helps. There's certain chemicals that get released in our brain, everything, so that we can move through the process. And, that's a good thing. And we have to understand it. Now, depending on whether or not you're having a funeral, you're not having a funeral, it's too far, the funeral, whatever the situation, you're going to discuss all this, right? Every funeral is not the same, nor is your location. We all live everywhere. I mean, I have a daughter in England, for God's sakes, it's not, I have a son in Japan.
Wow.
So, I mean, if my husband was to die tomorrow, I mean, they're adults, but I mean, they have to come home and they have to explain to their children, why we're coming or on a plane and whatever, right? So there's different situations for everyone, and we have to address them. We can't sweep them under the rug and be like, we're going on a plane like we're going to Disney World. And then when we get there, oh, it's a funeral. No, you can't do that.
What about
you.
explaining the death process? What do you say? How do you explain?
So that again depends on the age, right? Because preschoolers have little knowledge or experience on that. And they think it's temporary. And why do they think it's temporary and reversible? Because of all the darn games they play. Everybody gets another chance, right? All the computer games, whatever those, I don't play them, but all those war games and different things. Even cartoons in my day, right? You got hit with an anvil on your head, but you came back to life. You saw stars, little stars showed up. So that's what preschoolers think death is. You really have to explain it a little better. And that's got to be how the body works and why it would stop and why the heart would stop beating and what its job is, not the words that like they're asleep, they're on a journey, they're just resting. You can't say that because they have different definitions to those children, and they will expect them to get up and be alive. So you can't do that. So the best with little children is to use nature and look for examples. And those examples they can relate to. They've seen dead birds. They've seen the autumn leaves die, but the trees come back. The pet fish they may have had, or maybe they had any other little pet that dies young. Or maybe you had an older dog that died. And, as long as you're not one of those parents who secretly replaces pets,
Like, oh boy.
great,
He's funny.
great opportunity
The
was there.
goldfish. Remember the goldfish? Oh, the goldfish. Well, that one looks a little bit different. Really? I don't know.
No, just a little heavier. Nope, mommy just fed them more. So the opportunity was there and you didn't take advantage of it. Like have a pet funeral where it's not so emotional for them, maybe a little, but they get to start to feel these feelings. And there's oh yeah, remember we had the funeral in the backyard for blah, blah, blah. Oh yeah, we said a prayer or a poem. It doesn't have to be religious. It was a poem. Oh yeah, that was nice. Well, we're going to kind of do something just a little bit more for grandma. She was in our life longer than the fish, the dog. So we're going to have a little bit more. And that's how you explain it. But people should, and parents should get used to the idea of using nature to prepare them for whatever's down the road. Doesn't have to be an imminent death, but hey, this is a learning experience. And you should use every learning experience you can get, whether it's death or anything else, right? We do it when they tell lies,
Point.
right? When they tell lies. How about the first time your child stole and they were like 8, 9, or 10, and you embarrassed them and made them go back and give it in, right? They experienced that. Now they know as a teenager, they're not going to steal, and hopefully not as an adult, right? So these are learning and teaching moments. Death is another one. Use it, right? Now, if you get a little older and you can say things like, I wish they were dead, or you repeatedly think you disappointed a person. A little older, but maybe not teenagers, they think things they thought or said caused the person to die. You have to make them understand it isn't, because like my grandfather lived with me till I was in high school. I was 18 when he died. He lived with me since I was 5. So I probably was past that point, but imagine if I was 10 and, the amount of times he tattled on me. And I probably walked away and said, oh, I wish my grandpa didn't live. I wish he died already. Those children think they wish the death. They have to be assured they didn't wish the death. They did not do that. They didn't disappoint them like, oh, I got that bad grade. He kept teaching me my times tables. I still got an F. I didn't learn it. He died because he tried too hard. I didn't get it. I didn't disappoint you. You didn't disappoint Grandpa. It was his body. It was his time. It needs to be explained like that. How about the things that we hear all the time? And children say things the wrong way all the time, but your mother has a migraine, my mother has a migraine, and all of a sudden they don't hear migraine, they hear migraine. So they're thinking you're saying grandma, and they're saying, oh, grandma always had those headaches. She always said migraine. She died. Now my mommy has those headaches. Is she next? Gotta kind of feel that out. You have to talk to them, get them to talk to you, and let them understand nothing they did or said again or wished for or thought they heard caused it. This is what caused it. Be specific. You don't have to say, heart disease, but be a little bit more. The heart has so much time. They were older, couldn't do the job anymore. So anything, any way you want to get anatomy in there, get anatomy in there. Right? So when you have like sometimes a preschooler is also different and they notice and you haven't told them yet, routines are different. They're very alert to that. All of a sudden, mommy every night goes to grandma's house or the hospital. She's not here to do homework. I have to go to bed earlier. Or why am I at my aunt's house? Why is she picking me up from school? They know something's up. You just haven't told them yet. Right? Whether the death is coming or the death has happened. When routines change for children, they know.
They know everything.
They do. They're very alert. They pay attention. My grandson can't tell the time, but he knows when it's bedtime. But by the way, things happen. I came home from daycare. I ate. I get to watch some cartoons, YouTube stuff, Peppa Pig or whatever. And I know, oh, they're putting my pajamas on. Now it's bed. And no argument happens. But the moment that routine changed, why? What's going on? So they don't have to be able to read or tell time to know something's different. Routine, routine, routine.
Even the energy in the room within the family, the vibe. Kids even know a
They
divorce is
pick up
coming.
on that.
Yeah.
Yes. They pick up on all those emotional high alert. They're
Yeah.
very high alert because that's the way they communicate. Language isn't their strong point yet. They
Yep.
don't know always how to communicate. So how does a young child that young communicate to you? They cry, they scream, they're angry, they act out. Something's wrong. My routine is different. I feel the energy in the room. What is it? Have you ever gotten on the phone? I get on the phone because they live so far away. And I'll be talking to them first because they have to be first, and we blah blah blah. And then I'll get to my daughter or my son. I'll say, all right, we have to talk about some things. Blah 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 blah. I need you to do this, whatever. Nothing major. And right away, what happens? All the kids, whoever's in the room, is going gaga, me. They can't talk, but they want to be heard. So
Hmm.
that's the same thing, like you said, whether it's divorce, death, anything, they're on high alert. They know and they want to be heard.
You mentioned
Don't
energy,
get
and
it across.
I really think it's because they read the energy. And how do they do that? We all can do it, but they don't have to worry about mortgage payments, rent,
Yeah.
car payments. All they have to worry about is eating, playing, pooping, and reading the energy. What's around them? There's no distraction. So they're more receptive to it because of that.
Yeah. And meanwhile, we're getting high blood pressure, ulcers, and
Yeah.
everything else. So
Hmm.
we're holding it in and
Yeah.
it's affecting our body. But if you think of the 5 to 9-year-old, they think death happens to everyone else. I can hang off the monkey bars. I can jump. I can climb. I can pretend to be Superman off the couch, off a building. I'm not going to die. It doesn't happen to me because everybody I know who died was old. Right?
Mm.
So it doesn't happen to me. I could do whatever I want. Maybe I'll get stitches, but I'll live. They don't think in terms it's going to happen to them. So they need more details because, and bedtime's important to them. That's when you should really reassure them. And this is a good time to answer those questions a little more deeply, a little more honestly. If you have any religion in your life, use the religion. What do you believe in? And it doesn't have to be your typical Protestant, Jewish, Catholic. It could be any religion, right? Anything that has a doctrine that you may possibly use. Go to the internet. If you think you believe in it and it'll help your child, don't just pick something randomly like, oh, if I explain it this way, it'll all go away. No, if you don't believe in it, then don't do it. If you believe in no religion, then explain it your way. I can't stress that enough. You can't have other people tell your child what you don't want them to hear. I don't want someone coming in and telling my child, I believe in heaven if you don't. Heaven and hell, you
Sure.
don't want, think of the extremes in the religion just between the Methodist, Protestant, and the Catholics, right? They're all a little different in versions. We believe in saints. They don't believe in saints. We believe in the Virgin Mary. They don't. We believe in saints. They believe in prophets. You want it to be what you want it to be. So again, use your own religious beliefs or none, but don't let someone else encourage your child to come to you. If they feel safe coming to you, they'll ask you and not their friend. Right? Do you want your 9-year-old neighbor down the road telling them?
I
Yeah.
think one of we're just about out of time, but flicked in my head is don't force them to do anything. Like
No.
you have to go up to the casket. No, if you don't want to go up, that's okay.
I tell people when they ask me, what should we do? I say, you bring them, but have a safe place. If they want to leave, make sure someone can pick them up. It should, don't pick up the baby and say, kiss grandma goodbye. I mean, they're cold. No, if they're going to go up, if you bring them and let them wander around the funeral home, they'll eventually get up there because they're nosy. They may not touch, they may not pray, but at least they saw. And that's one step closer for them to understand. And then they could still follow it up with questions later with you or the internet later without you, but they'll find out what you want them to know. So before you get to the funeral home, I don't care what age, if they haven't been there, you should tell them the process of that chemicals were put in, and that's why they feel cold and room temperature and not as warm as us. Right? They are in a casket that's only half opened. We didn't cut their legs off, right? Things like that. If we did cremation, what is that process? And then what are you doing with the cremains? Because all of a sudden, that's grandma on the shelf and you didn't explain how that happened. I don't get why she's a jar.
That's a great point. How did you get from here to there? If you explain what the here was and what took place, they'll understand the there, i.e., the urn on the shelf. We're out of time. I got to tell you, a fantastic topic today. You explain it in such wonderful detail, and these are the things that how do you find this on the internet? This comes from you, empathy, and decades of experience in doing what you do.
Exactly.
Yeah. You've seen it. You've dealt with it. Tell us the two locations of the funeral homes in New Jersey.
So one is on South Cooksbridge Road in Jackson, and the other's on Ridgeway Road in Manchester. They're both Ocean County, and they're about 8 or 9 miles apart. And one is just larger than the other. One has a restaurant, though. The one in Jackson has a full restaurant.
Yeah. For anybody that didn't get that memo, it's been around for a while. You're allowed to serve food in a funeral home. It's legal.
Yep.
I personally think it should have always been.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
I lived through that. Not even a cup of coffee.
Oh, yeah. Why do people have to leave and then come back later and schlep in their cars and figure it all out? What time are you coming back? Where are you going to be? Meet up? Oh, you got enough to worry about. So wonderful. It's OliverieFuneralHome.com. Is that correct?
Correct.
Excellent. Geraldine, thank you so much for today. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And we'll catch up soon. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.